PA's Family Court and Juvenile Delinquency Court are made up of hundreds of judges serving families across all 67 counties. Each year, thousands of cases are heard. Whether the issues are custody, neglect, delinquency, or support, what lies at the heart of each case is a child's sense of safely belonging and hope for a stable future. And behind every decision is a commitment to fairness, dignity, and the well-being of children and families.
Working with family court, you're trying to get all of the parties of the family on the same page, and you're working with all of them. Oftentimes the originating problems are with the parents, and with juvenile delinquency the focus is on the child. So certainly the child's environment creates a lot of their problems and is the reason often I see them in court more often than I would like.
I really wanted to become a judge, and particularly a family law judge, because I care about children. I care about what they have to go through when their parents separate, what they have to go through if dad's in jail and mom's on drugs. Are they gonna live with grandma or aunt, uncle, or what? I care about the children. That really was why I wanted to become a judge.
When I sit across the table from a child and I give them voice and I listen to them and I see them develop throughout a case or we get to a resolution, that's my why. You know, there's other things that I'm doing, but I really think the kids are the main purpose.
A lot of times when you're put as a new judge on the bench, you're put in the family section. And that's where I started over a decade ago. I've had many opportunities to leave, and I've chosen to stay, and I'll stay as long as I can. The reason being is that it's the one area I think of the bench where you can see real change in a reasonably short period of time.
Some of the children in my dependency court don't have parents that they can run home to and show their report cards to. They're living in volatile situations. And many times I have a child who will come in with a certificate or an achievement award they've received in school, or something as simple as their report card. They'll be like, "Judge, I want you to see this." And just knowing that I'm giving them that validation and I'm cheering them on when they may not have any other people to do that for them feels good.
Keeps me wanting to do this work and keeps me going is that adoption that I did, 2 days prior, where not only were the adoptive parents, but the children who were getting adopted had tears of joy streaming down their face.
What people don't understand is we judges have a lot of, in family division, a lot of factors. And the law keeps creating more factors. So if I'm deciding a custody case, oftentimes parents think, they'll say, I'm not the bad guy. I'm not deciding who the bad guy is. I'm looking at a whole lot of factors that could include abuse, safety, the preference of the child. Is that preference well-reasoned? When we're analyzing what's presented to us, then we put those into the law and those factors and then come out with the proper decision that we believe. And it's not easy because there are times where we struggle with what the proper decision is.
Justice Doherty says, I know I don't know. And it's a reminder, we have to keep an open mind to what we haven't heard. It's asking questions, it's trying to give the parties time to flesh out what they want you to hear, and it's gathering everything that you can.
You rely upon the fact that I'm lived in this earth 68 years, and I've encountered a lot of things over the years. So you rely first and foremost on the law, and then you rely on your personal background and the experiences that you have.
Well, I try to listen to as much as I can. I give it as much thought as I can, and it's more than just taking a look at the evidence that's presented to you. I have to weigh credibility. And I always like to speak to the children, especially in dependency cases. I want to give them a sense of validation and let them know that we're here because of you. You're a focus of this case. I care about what you have to say, but I also let them know that I'm a lot older than you, a lot more experienced, and you may not be happy with the decision I make, but I'm going to make a decision that I think is in your best interest based on everything I hear. And I had one little boy who came back after I put him in placement, and he said, "I'm mad at you, Judge. You sent me away. I'm really mad." But I knew he was in a home where he was not safe and not being protected. So sometimes I can't do what a child wants. I have to look at the evidence and do what I think is best for them. That's difficult.
I can't tell you the number of times I've had a parent who at the beginning of the case you would look at and say, they're so racked by mental health issues, they're so racked by substance abuse issues, that I just don't see how they're gonna get it together. And then they do. And there are ups and downs on the way. You know, there have been times where the agency has said, we're ready to give up on the parent. We think we're not gonna get to a permanent solution for the child in a reasonable period of time, where we think we need to look at adoption instead of looking at reunification. Where I've said, no, I think the parent is making progress and that we can get there in a reasonable period of time. And then we have. You know, the child who just wants to be with mom is able to be back with mom. So that's huge.
I don't want to ever have to retire. I love what I do. I love every day. And I do think I'm making a difference. As an example, I was in line at a fast food place a few months ago, and the server there said, "I know you, you're Judge Mingus." And I said, "Oh, okay, you do look a little familiar." It was a gal I'd had in dependency court probably 2 years earlier. She proceeded to tell me she was working there part-time and going to community college. That warmed my heart. That's a success story. That's what we want to see.
I was a judge a couple of months ago. I'm in the grocery store and a young lady comes up to me and she says, "Are you a lawyer?" And I said, "I am," and I'm scared. And then she said, "You were my GAL when I was in Butler County." And she said, "You know, I'm doing well."
Some of these people just don't have a home life where they've got parents who are sitting at their soccer games and clapping for them, that are, you know, happy when they come home with positive grades on their report card. So this is an opportunity for them to tell me things like that. I had one child actually ask me if I could have permission or give him permission to go to the prom and then go to the beach afterwards. And it was a big decision I had to make, but I trusted the kid. He wasn't going to drink, and I wanted him to have that opportunity. And he came back and told me how it went, and it felt really good that we had the kind of connection where he was comfortable telling me things like that.
Being a juvenile court judge, I knew I wanted to help in other ways. So my husband and I got approved to be foster parents and foster to adopt parents. So we had a couple rules about that, and one of the rules was no kids from Cumberland County. And I come to court one day and meet a kiddo from Cumberland County, and I walked out the bench and I said to my secretary once, and I've never said it again, but I said if I could take that one home, I would. Fast forward months and months later, he'd been back in front of me several times, and they were talking, he was also involved in dependency, about removing him from his current situation. And I went to my president judge and said, "What do I do?" And he said, "Don't ever let your job stop you from giving a home to a kid who needs one."
When children are coming to court for dependency, it's typically a chaotic environment. Emotions are running very high. A lot of times decisions are being made that can be upsetting to children. And Lucy, my facility dog, is a calming presence for children. It also helps if I need to speak to that child in chambers. It helps the child to feel comfortable and creates an environment that they can feel a little bit more secure and calm. Makes coming to court at least one positive thing about coming to court.
If people understood the commitment to improving our dependency process. I don't see it in any other branch of the court. There is just a constant focus on how can we be doing things better, not just in an individual case, but as a system. And so the ability to be part of that is uplifting too.
I think a good thing to think about is I remember a judge who was very well respected in Allegheny County. When I was a lawyer, it wasn't a criminal case, it wasn't a family law case, it was a civil case, but it involved my client, a mother who was highly emotional about what happened to her child. And the judge said to my client, which I'll never forget, I understand you're upset, and I want you to be able to have space to talk, but the best thing for you to do is if you and the other party could come to a resolution, but if you can't, then I will do my job. And just reminding people that I love my job, I want to be here, but I'd rather if you could do it. Optimally, it would be nice if they would be able to decide everything they wanted to, they were struggling with on their own. However, if it comes to me, I'm going to do my best to first put some tools in place to get them to be able to solve it. And if they cannot, I will happily do my job, even though it's difficult, and make decisions.
There's a lot of physical and sexual abuse going on in households that leads to them being contacted. So I think people are in a place of fear when they come into dependency court. And I want everyone to know that the goal in dependency court always starts out as reunification.
You've got to work towards reunification. You've also got to not let it linger. You've got to find permanency for the child. And you're thinking about what's, the age of the child, what's their protective capacity, what can be done to increase their protective capacity.
I have grandparents who are caring for children. I have grandparents who are, there's interfamily generational trauma. We're dealing with all aspects of the family dynamic and family division.
We are not here to take your children away. So I also want to have that conversation with the parents when they first come into court. I'm not here to take your children away. We are going to give you every opportunity to have the children reunited with you as soon as possible.
I think the advice that I try to give to families is that we are here to work with them. When they come in, they see the judge, the juvenile probation officer, all as their enemies. They're working against them. And that's not my goal, and I know that's not the goal of the probation officers. Our goal is to try to find out why they misbehaved, why they committed the crime, and try to figure out a way so that that doesn't happen again.